Morning. It's time to start pouring the coffee. I haven't had mine yet. Or actually, I'm going to have my drink here. But now the thing is, we have situations. People are wondering what's going on with stuff. How is this going to unfold more? And today we have some more unfolding. So if we look at an understanding that the Secretary of State of Colorado is basically someone who participated in dealing with protecting a declaring candidate who is complaining that one of the parties should be removed from the ballot because they were a participant in insurrection. And of course, this item goes all the way to the Supreme Court. And those of you who are learned, as I analyzed it, I need to do more analyzing. There's at least three mistakes that the court makes. Just looking at the verbal evaluation, there's three clear mistakes that I noticed in monitoring that the Supreme Court makes three mistakes. But the point that we're going to start working with at the moment is understanding that the Secretary of State of Colorado is a participant in standing up and saying, yes, I believe that we have an obligation to protect the process of elections. Especially when we're dealing with evidence involving insurrection and participants who have participated in it. Now, the problem here is when we go back to California, Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State for California, does not believe that she should get involved in protecting the process of elections at all. There's been multiple encounters with problems of the Secretary of State feeling that they have an obligation to protect the process of elections in their state, respective Shirley Weber, California. This is a problem. It's a very serious problem because the problems at these levels deal with state attorney general's offices and Secretary of State offices working together in various situations. This is what's supposed to happen. This is what's supposed to happen. It's not what did happen. So myself, as a continuing candidate, finds myself under attacks dealing with the actual evolution of this horrible, growing, dark insurrectionist situation. Yet we have dereliction of duty from Shirley Weber. A notice of 29 RICO items is given to her. It's dated earlier. It predates. Please pay attention. It predates all of this other activity that people keep seeing coming out pertaining to Trump and all this other stuff. The understanding that there are other parties who were notified in California who were either screwball or, again, dereliction of duty, or had requirements, again, that I would call screwball, that would jeopardize the life and the integrity of protecting national security in the course of the process of elections. Because I'm an archiver, because I'm also a technologist, a scientist, because I'm also into all of these other things, because I have this enormous education and have done enormous amounts of research. I have knowledge of about a lot of these different items that clearly go into the categories even of national security. This is despite the civil rights research they do. It's despite the AI engineering to deal with repairing all of the homeless problems possible. This is despite the AI engineering for superior guaranteed new loan flexibility, making all labor bankable, restoring home building back directly into the hands of every citizen, and compensating and evaluating parties who have been ripped off in the past, who were guaranteed participation, who have not gotten it. It's been ripped off. It's been stolen. That has to be returned. The stock that was promised to citizens has to be returned. Very few people in the country understand the occurrences of the land that was promised, of the stock that was promised, of the residuals that were promised. So when I stand up and say, yeah, I'm standing up for the poor, I'm standing up for a lot of stuff. As I put all these different items out, it's very complex, it's very balanced. It's very balanced. And I still haven't even got into the healthcare stuff. You know, many of you might have noticed that Sanders happens to probably, you know, I would consider Sanders with probably the most impressive archive as a senator, respective to research on healthcare. I mean, notwithstanding that overall Congress, as the Library of Congress, is going to have the stuff, but Sanders is more on top of everything. You know, I mean, somebody asked me once, you're running for president, would you consider Sanders for vice president? I says, well, truthfully, unfortunately, the best use of Senator Sanders is to understand what he's been doing most of his whole life. That's what we have to work with. That's what we need to give Senator Sanders more power. Empower him to be able to do more in these areas. You know, so, you know, basically considering whether he would fit into a department in some way or cross department, or I'm in favor of creating something new. Something new. And this is something that would require, in my view, to do it right. It really helps if I have access to my archive and my notes, but a lot of that's been stolen. It's en route. It's being tracked by SAR. Some of it has been destroyed. But regardless, I'm separated from all of these resources that are needed to fight right now. You know, I've been showing the evidence, some of the evidence of the enormous violence for over a year on Twitter, but I've displayed other things. Major pieces of code for various different items, either from private interest, but items that also deal with a duality and say, here's a program we can repair Social Security with this. Boom. Here's a program we can use Social Security to empower new home construction. You know, here's some code. Here's how we do a blockchain setup to do a decentralized participation with minimal Oracle participation to empower every citizen to involve themselves in new home building projects. And this also encompasses the largest intake, because the government prints 30 cents on the dollar of all new assets, all new hard assets created. The government prints 30 cents on the dollar. So yeah, I mean, what I've laid out already on Twitter will repair the national debt completely in 3 years. 3 years. You know, this is mind-boggling. You know, some people can't handle the understanding of how these mathematics are going to work. You know, and there's so much more into it. I want to work with creating balanced plans that have both covering a complete understanding of where we're going to have restoration of rights, restoration of lands, restoration of respect for bankability of labor, empowering and getting that construction of new homes underway, and how there's going to be back toe for the government to be able to print money to pay off the national debt and be able to fund more logical, more human healthcare options for our nation. So I'm very big on coupling items together so that a balanced plan can work forward. And whether Senator Sanders knows it or not, I have a lot of notes, or at least I did have a lot of notes, of where he comes in doing his thing, the thing he's good at, you know. And Senator Sanders say you'll probably get a hold of this sooner or later. How's your health? How are you feeling? Are you up to extending and working on taking on a few extra duties possibly? You know, are you open to possible options here? You know, so there's that. Now, tracking back, there's this dereliction problem that has occurred. I start out talking about the insurrection problem. Enormous violence. You know, over the course of my life, I've had 7 attempts on my life by gunfire. I talk about 2 of them. I put some discussions out on 2 of them. You know, as of the recent last 3 years, since COVID, shortly after COVID started, I've had several. I've had at least 2 attempts, clearly, by gunfire alone. So this is something that is important to understand. That as a candidate, I also control an archive. So we have the hopes, the dreams, the forward movement, the evolution of what needs to occur in this country, involving everything from health and safety, healthcare, stimulus, to national security, coming under heavy, violent attack repeatedly. And there's no escape. SAR's recorded all of this, these dots and squares. So sorting out who's who and who did what is priority 1. So when I go to the state of California for assistance, and the word becomes dereliction, it's not my first rodeo. I've had to deal with this before. So dealing with situations like Julie Sue, Shirley Weber, the California AG's office. And then if we want to look at the evolutionary situation, now we're looking at Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris spans time. Here's one of the big ones. She spans time. She's been over multiple offices that have been in dereliction of duty when violent insurrectionist activity occurs, and when she is asked to participate and assist, she says no. When direct items involving members of the Justice Department are violating literally dozens, I believe now we look at it as hundreds of laws. Again, no, she doesn't want to make things right. She wants to still sit on prosecuting false cases. Even though the state of Arkansas did an intensive investigation on some of these matters. You know, we're talking night and day stuff here. We're talking computer registration, human verified of what the truth is, and everything's, you know, T's crossed, I's dotted. It's perfect. And then we have Bozo the Clowns running around in hate attacking candidates. Brought to the attention of Kamala Harris, she's the prosecutor. She's the one that wants to hammer it into me. She's violated or participated in the violating of numerous federal laws. Now, the perpetuation, because of that dereliction of duty, we now have an ongoing situation of more players and more damage. So she shares in the responsibility, by definition of law, into the destruction of archived material and the violations of national security. She is unfit to serve as a candidate. She's a memeer, she's a grandstander. She's been withholding evidence from the voters of California. She has not been interested. She has been in dereliction of protecting the rights of California voters. As I have been a candidate trying to expand the rights, trying to protect the rights, civil rights. I did a lot of different civil rights stuff. I don't want to talk about it right now. A lot of people don't understand auxiliary or hidden player positions on stuff. So this is where we're at right now. This is how things are developing as we have the new evidence coming out. And look for yourself. Does the Secretary of State involve itself, the one from Colorado, going before the United States Supreme Court with respective actions? And the answer is the definitive yes. You can go right on YouTube and listen to some of those proceedings. This is a very serious matter. I have no idea what some of these Democrats think they're involving themselves in and where they're going. They're going nowhere, because what's happening is all the California delegates are being seized. And I'm saying, look, we have to do some transparency on all of this. We have to make room for all of this. You know, and myself, as a Democrat of more than 20 years, I basically see it as my duty to clean house. I'm proud to assist in doing that. Because then I'm also going to move further, obviously, on dealing with all these other parties. But the mass dereliction of duty, they've showed zero interest to protect archive, to protect evidence, to protect research respective to cases. That's who these people really are. They're grandstanders. They're going to get up and grandstand and then say they don't know anything about it. They're liars. They're incompetent. They ran their offices improperly. They had all the software. They could have checked all their employees right down to every phone caller. I had the same software at the same time. They did not run their departments properly. These are the facts. And it's important for California voters and voters of this nation to understand what's going on, because there's other players we have to get to. But when these parties, when you have the state shutting down your resources, your business, your nonprofit, your election, your campaign, your right to do signatures, everything, when they're shutting all of this down and Congress orders people to be paid, and Julie Su is a participant in $31 billion of fraud? That's a world's record. It's mind-boggling. That's the amount of money that Ukraine used to fight the whole nation of Russia for a year. A year. The allegations of parties stating it's clear what she was doing. She was trying to attract new voters to become Democrats in California, which would be an illegal action. I don't know that it's actually that clear. More investigation would be done. I do know that her communications, for a fact, were wrong. And I have lots and lots and lots of other evidence. We've seen some of the evidence that the Senate and the Secret Service revealed before the Senate. There's more that hasn't been revealed yet. On Julie Su. her actions and definition, basically, when I went through it, 26 international violations, international law violations, crimes against humanity, the way she'd treat people. Crimes against humanity. Mind-boggling. Mathematically, there's no way around these definitions. And we got these people that have locked themselves. They've locked themselves in looking at a profile that was generated. Look how good this person's profile. Look at their references. That's fabricated bullshit. I feel like slapping people in the face. You got to look deeper. You got to look at the hard evidence. You got to understand the deliberate blacklisting engineering in the design of the phone system. It's very deep. The deliberate blacklisting of people who were petitioners, the deliberate blacklisting of people who were ongoing candidates, the deliberate blacklisting of people who were archivers. I'm not the only person that's been a victim here. There's just this overlapping, repeated concern. And, of course, national security's into it. You know, Julie Sue participates in blacklisting. She's a major participant. So is Shirley Weber. So is the AG's office. So also is Kamala Harris. You know, I don't know what this BS they're talking about that they're fighting Trump. Look at my material. I've got violent insurrection. There's more than 10,000 acts of violence committed against me, my campaign, the archive. I'm the guy that's taking all the risk. I'm the guy getting shot at. I'm the guy fighting. What is this bullshit? I'm sick and tired of their filthy lies and their bullshit. Now, that was completely justified. As an emotional outburst, is it clicking in your head? Does it equate? Is there a logic? Look at the evidence I've been posting for more than a year. And understand the truth. These other people are grandstanders. They're fabricating stuff. Don't go for it. Don't go for it. I'd look Senator Sanders straight in the eye. Please, sir, do not go for the bullshit. That little stack of papers fabricated. That's bullshit. You have to look deeper at stuff. And I'm certain there's plenty of people who are qualified that would be very good at looking deep. My implementation of the most advanced design AI has been decades of work. To understand, to come through between 2005 and 2008 and understand future displacement of people's jobs with a correlative understanding of how to smoothly reintegrate people back into a situation while giving them an upgrade and a raise before the event involving their displacement occurs. Who does this kind of calculations? Look at the evidence. Understand the violence, the destruction focused at archive. Understand the constitution of the archive. To attack and destroy archive is the death penalty. And there is a reason for it. I need people to wake up and understand why our forefathers put these items into the law. This is not a game. This is not a game. So people need to grab a hold of reality and realize there's a serious problem with people's personal memeism, their own agenda of grandstanding. We have to bring it to an end. We have to clean our own house first before we move forward to clean other people's house. Except Sorry, we have to do a little bit of both at the same time. That's real reality. But how can I step up and do stuff when I'm under attack? When I have Democrats stabbing me in the back, there's no excuse for this. Kamala Harris is unfit. We need her out of the ticket race right now, immediately. We need her gone. I want to thank you for your time, as more evidence will be continuously coming out. Please, 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 will you please look at the extensive evidence that I have already listed over the course of more than a year. I thank you for your time. Michael Crosby, running for POTUS 2024.